With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu. At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability. ASU isn't just ahead of the curve. It's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Saving money on your auto loan? It's never been easier. For a limited time, First United Credit Union can help you cruise into savings with rates as low as 4.99% APR when you refinance. Even better, you can enjoy no payments for 90 days. Use promo code CRUISE when you apply. Visit firstunitedcu.org/cruise to learn more. That's firstunitedcu.org/cruise. First United Credit Union, your local partner in banking.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And joining me now is the nice exercise lady, Claudine Cooper. Claudine, it's good to talk to you again. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you, Mo?
I'm doing well. And I came across this article and it reminded me painfully in many ways that AI is coming for all of us. Coming for our jobs, going to replace us, going to somehow insert a wedge between us and other people. And I saw this article which says 7 ways you can use ChatGPT for your mental health and wellness. I don't work in that space, so I'm not as intimately connected to it. But when I saw the headline and I read the article, I was thinking, are we on the verge of some people losing some jobs, or is that too far off?
I don't think you're wrong. I mean, here's a couple things I've noticed. I did read the article that you sent to me, and I've noticed a few things. People now, they don't have to hire a personal trainer because they can go on ChatGPT and say, hey, I need a workout specifically for lower body. And it'll literally outline everything you need to know. Pop your headphones on, go to the gym, don't talk to a single soul, have your phone up, and it'll tell you everything that you need to do. Now, here's the pitfalls with that. If you have a one-on-one trainer and you're doing an exercise and you're a little bit off in your technique, the trainer can say, hey, listen, separate your feet a little bit more, drop your hips a little further, things like that that you won't get if you're using ChatGPT or AI as your personal trainer. But as you know, I specialize in groups, fitness that is related to bringing people together, which is excellent for the mental health. And because of that, I don't think my job is replaceable, Mo. That's all I'm saying about that.
What about the feasibility? Because although I can picture you working with people and being able to modify their workouts or adjust subtleties, when we're talking about mental health, that's a completely different ballgame, seemingly, because you have someone interacting with artificial intelligence, not looking them in their eyes, not making that emotional or personal connection. Can ChatGPT, as it's presently constructed, offer something for someone who is concerned about increasing their mental health or mental wellness?
Ooh, that's a good question. So in the article, what it was saying was that there are people who actually go on ChatGPT to use it as a therapist. And I had never heard anything like this before. But look, I'm not as well versed in ChatGPT and AI. I think maybe we need to bring in Marcia into the conversation, our tech lady. But I do know enough about it because I am living in the house with teenagers, and ChatGPT and AI is all the rave when it comes to the young people and doing their research projects, their school homework and things like that. But that's a sidebar conversation. I'll keep it to this. I would have never thought to go on ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm having a difficult time connecting with a person in my life. Can you give me some tips? But when I read the article, I realized that there are people who are using ChatGPT for things like this. And although ChatGPT will give you the responses that you need if you're having a difficult conversation or a difficult time connecting with a certain person, there's nothing that can compare to eye contact. At least that's me with my 50-year-old self. But what say you, Mo?
I think the eye contact is essential because we're talking about human connection. And how do we first connect? Through the eyes, through the physical acknowledgement of the presence of someone else. That's why if we happen to be on Zoom, it's always more preferable to have your camera on so there is a level of connection. That's the level of connection that I don't think is possible through a prompt and script or even artificial intelligence. But according to the article we were talking about, it is being used by people as organization for a brain dump where you can just let everything out without fear of judgment, provide psychoeducation, brainstorming coping strategies, organizing your to-do lists, almost an assistant more than just artificial intelligence. I don't disagree or debate the fact that it probably has some usefulness. I do wonder whether it can help someone who may be dealing with particular issues or complications in their emotional well-being.
Okay, so basically what I found, what I read or how I interpreted it was that, let's say you have trouble with time management and you need to organize your to-do lists. You can go into ChatGPT and do a brain dump and they will help you organize and manage your time, but you still have to be the executor. Yeah. You still have to take that action. Yes, ChatGPT can help you and it can tell you what you need to do, but if you're not doing it, is it really helpful at the end of the day, right? And today, while I was at the gym, I was on the main floor, which is where the strength training, the beefcake guys go and lift the weights, right? And so I was talking to one of the guys and he was like, oh, today is the 1-year anniversary of my mother's passing. And because I don't go on social media and I don't use any of the technology that's at our fingertips, I want to show you a picture of my mom. And I thought that was so special, Mo, and I'm going to tell you why. Because there are people who are yearning for human connection, but they don't want to put themselves out into the world on the internet. And so they're looking to connect in person. And one of the best places to do that is still the gym. There's other places. There's church, there's sorority and fraternity meetings, but it is still a great place to connect, the gym.
If I were to read in what you were saying, and please correct me if I'm wrong, there is no substitute for the human connection, the physical interaction, to be able to enjoy the commonality of just being human together.
I feel like that is one of the things that we are missing. And you're right. You hit the nail on the head. There's nothing that can quite compare to that eye contact, that human to human interaction, and him just wanting to share that it was 1 year of his mother's passing. And let me show you a picture of her. Real simple. Didn't take more than 2 minutes of my time to just say, I see you. I hear you. I'm standing with you in your grief today, and no social media was involved.
Nor ChatGPT. Not to sell it short, I don't think it could have done anything for that individual or anyone else who was looking for an emotional acknowledgement and recognition of this moment of his mother's passing.
Yes. Yes.
When we come back, we're getting close to spring. It's daylight saving time. There's more sunlight to the day. Love it, love it, love it. And so when we come back, Claudine Cooper, I want to go into, I guess, the psychology of how people maybe are more inclined to get into the gym, maybe start thinking about that bikini or beach body, as it were, and how people, not only their physical bodies change, but their psychology also changes. Can you do that for me, Claudine?
I'm ready when you are.
It's later with Mo Kelly. I'm speaking with the nice exercise lady, Claudine Cooper. Go to ClaudineCooper.com to find out more about her. And we'll have more in just a moment. KFI AM 640 live everywhere in the iHeart.
With so many options, Why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Radio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
KFI, Mo Kelly and Claudine Cooper. Go to ClaudineCooper.com. We are live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. And Claudine, as I look outside, the sun has finally gone down, but I had sunlight up until the time of the start of my show. Obviously, the days are getting longer. Some kids are on spring break right now, which is weird for me because my spring break growing up was always tied to the Easter weekend. It's not like that anymore, depending on school district. But I wonder, in what you do, now that we are trending towards spring, now that there are more hours of sunlight in the day, now that people may be thinking about getting themselves their beach body or their revenge body or whatever it may be, which motivates them, what type of trends or changes in people's psychology or motivation do you see in the gym?
Oh, wow. Well, you've just asked a multitude of questions. My head is spinning, but I got to say this. Spring is always a great time in the gym. People are prepping for summer for sure, maybe getting ready for their spring break vacations. My daughter just came in town last week, so she was home for spring break. And like you, I remember spring break being the week before Easter or the week after Easter. This year, Easter doesn't fall until the end of April. So people are having their spring breaks a little bit earlier. My daughter and I had a wonderful time together. She spring braked at home this year. I feel like seasonal depression is real. And I think we have to just go there because we already talked about how ChatGPT is being used as a therapist. So one of the things you might ask ChatGPT is, how do I get over my seasonal depression? And the truth is, we just need a little bit more outside time, a little bit more daylight, a little bit more sunlight. And so what I'm noticing, and this is just my observation because I see hundreds of people every day, I'm noticing a lightness, a happiness, a greater amount of joy and connection between people. And maybe I'm imagining things, Mo, but I really attribute this to the longer days and to the change of seasons.
I don't think that's your imagination. It's been well documented that the winter months brings about more depression for people, more sorrow. People might be emotionally down during the holidays. All of that figures together. But does that change how you in your profession interact with others?
Well, as you know, I love being outside. I love going outside. I love working out outside. And you know, the weather, although we are in Southern California, there is a shift, even though it's not a huge seasonal shift like you have in the Midwest. But I will tell you, I've noticed more people showing up to my outdoor workouts on Saturday mornings. We had close to 100 people when it was sunny and bright and warm. You know, it's definitely a difference in what I do. My classes in the gym are even more crowded than usual. People are showing up for themselves in ways that when you're cozy at home, eating your comfort food and it's cold outside and it's dark at night, you don't feel as compelled to get up, go to Pilates class, get up, go to the gym. It's a lot more challenging when the weather is cold or when the days are short to get up and be motivated to work out. So I have seen a big difference.
Since you have seen that big difference and you made mention of your free community workouts on Saturday and more than 100 people came out before, what are you expecting for this approaching weekend? And also let's remind people how they can be part of it.
Well, one never knows what's going to happen. I mean, the weather has been a little tricky. I mean, it was raining last week and then boom, the day of my workout, it was sunny. So you just never know. I'll say it doesn't matter to me if I have 10 people or 110 people. I'm still going to give people a great workout. It's no equipment needed, no mats, nothing except for a positive attitude and a willingness to work. You just come there. We have free parking, a farmer's market, a free workout. It's right in the middle of Inglewood. I kind of don't know if people know the area yet. Last night I was walking home from work, Mo, and there were guys walking around and they were like, wait, so SoFi Stadium is over there? And then the Clippers arena is right there. And they were like, so what is this? And I was like, oh, this is a gym. They were like, a gym is here too? And they were so flabbergasted because they're like, what is going on around here? Like, they didn't know nothing about this. And I say that to say maybe people listening don't know either, but there's this little intersection, Century Boulevard and Prairie. We have a huge new development where SoFi Stadium and Hollywood Park Casino and all of these things are in the same little area.
Intuit Dome.
The Intuit Dome. Posum. We have a lot of things going on right here, but in the middle of it, I host a free workout every Saturday at 9 a.m. and you're welcome to join.
I have done it on a few occasions. It is well worth your time and well worth your energy. And there's something about being outside. You made mention of this earlier, but I want to highlight it one more time. There's something about being outside in that communal element. We were talking earlier about Chat GPT and lacking that human interaction and connection. It's something that improves your workout and inspires your workout. That's just from my first person experience of it. And it made it all that more rewarding at the end.
Well, it's that too, but since we're talking about mental and emotional wellness, there is well documented data that suggests that when you are working out outside and with people, that's like a trifecta. It's the exercise, it's the mental wellness, and it's the human connection that really brings us back into our bodies and centers us. So I would love to see anyone who's open to just showing up. You don't need a lot of details, no registration necessary, just show up.
And then show out. She's Claudine Cooper. Find out more at ClaudineCooper.com. We're always pleased to have the nice exercise lady. And you think, well, where does that come from? That came from Mark Ronner, and it just stuck. Claudine, is always good to see you, and I hope to see you and talk to you again soon.
I'll see you next week, Mo. Thank you for having me, and I look forward to meeting up again soon.
It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640, live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And yes, Dodger baseball is underway. Maybe you haven't been following it, but the Dodgers are now 2-0 after sweeping the Chicago Cubs in Tokyo, Japan. Yes, they kicked off the season in Tokyo, Japan. If you've never been to Japan, and I haven't been to Japan, but I know as far as being in Asia, the sports experience is very different. You will have fans who don't make a lot of noise until there was something exciting. You're not going to have trash fan behavior. They are much more respectful of players in the game, of course, than in the United States. And what I've seen on the replays of the games, because I did not get up at 2, 3 in the morning to watch the Dodgers play in Japan. I love them, but not that much. But what I have seen on the replay is the love and embrace of American baseball by Japan. And if you know the Dodgers and you know Chicago Cubs, there are enough Japanese players where it really turned into an event. And to talk about the impact of players like Sasaki and Ohtani and others, there was this clip on ESPN by Jeff Passan. He was speaking to Pat McAfee on his show, and Passan puts it in perspective how important not only are Japanese players to Major League Baseball, but also the future of the sport.
How often will we have this type of international crossover going forward?
I mean, Shohei's the reason for everything in baseball now, right? Like it's been a quarter century since baseball's had a star like a star with international appeal like Shohei Ohtani. And the fact that they can go to Tokyo, and it's not just Shohei, right? Yoshinobu Yamamoto starts the game for the Dodgers. Shota Imanaga starts the game for the Cubs. Seiya Suzuki's hitting second for the Cubs. Shohei's hitting leadoff. Roki Sasaki starting game 2 for the Dodgers. Baseball has been trying to catch up internationally to other sports over the last decade or so. And we had the games in Korea last year, and they've gone to Japan before. I remember back in 2008, the A's and the Red Sox started the season there, and that was my first time visiting Japan. So this isn't anything that's new necessarily, but there's just a lot more resonance now because Japan is such an integral part of where baseball is now and where it wants to be. And listen, there are not a lot of countries around the world, Pat, where baseball is the number one sport. It is unquestionably so in Japan. So to see the game start in that environment, to see Ohtani get to play in front of a country where he's absolutely revered, I think was a really cool thing for the sport.
Oh, and I almost forgot. There was this one semi-controversial moment where a fan, and it's someone you might know, a fan tried to catch, and actually was successful in catching a foul ball and getting it away from, I wouldn't say he got it away from Max Muncy, the Dodgers player, but he was very close to making contact with Max Muncy. It was a foul ball down the third base line. They have these protective nets, and then Muncy had to reach into the crowd and over the net to get the ball. It turned out it was Rodney Peete, as in KLAC AM 570 LA Sports, Rodney Peete. Holly Robinson Peete, his wife, posted it on social media. It was covered by sports everywhere. And if you don't know, there's always been this ongoing conversation and also conflict between players and fans when a ball is actually in the player's domain and when it's actually in the fan's domain. And it's well understood that if a ball goes into the crowd, in other words, it's not in the field of play, it's open to the fans. Fans are going to reach for it. Fans are going to go for the ball. Fans are going to want a souvenir. And Rodney Peete, even though he was a former professional football player, he is still a Dodgers fan and a sports fan more generally. He wanted a souvenir. He got a souvenir. And when you see the video, I'm going to play the audio in just a second. But when you see the video, Max Muncy reaches for the ball and Rodney Peete's glove is underneath Max Muncy's glove. So in other words, it had to pass Max Muncy, and Rodney Peete did not actually interfere with Max Muncy. Now, he might have distracted him, and if you see the video, Max Muncy is not happy at all. I don't think he recognized Rodney Peete, and Rodney Peete obviously was not trying to interfere, but he really didn't interfere with Max Muncy. Listen to this.
Delivery is popped up. Third base side, over is Muncy, and he reaches over. He made the catch. Did he make it? He did not. No. Oh, my goodness. That looked like it was in his glove for a moment.
Oh, no, the other guy caught.
Oh, it's the other black glove that was out there. Muncy.
Me personally, I've never caught a foul ball. I've touched a foul ball. I should have caught one on this given day. It was at Dodger Stadium. Ishmael Valdez was the pitcher. I remember it was a foul down the first base line. I was midway up on the first base line, and it hit me in my palm and bounced away. That's the closest I've ever gotten to an actual foul ball or souvenir, and it will bother me for the rest of my life because I always wanted to have a souvenir. But let me get back to the Dodgers. The Dodgers are forecast. They are the favorites to win the World Series this year. They have the best team on paper in probably a quarter century. There is so much hitting and so much pitching on this team that they are the prohibitive favorites. Will they get there? I don't know. You have 162 games, 160 are left. They're now 2-0, and anything can happen, especially when it comes to pitchers and arm injuries and just the long aspect of the season where players get tired, players get injured, and sometimes other teams just get hot. That's why they play the games. It's not about what they look like on paper. But these Dodgers look outstanding, and I'm going to follow them hopefully to a repeat World Series champion. When we come back, I'll be joined on the line by Maiya May, who's the host of Weathered Inside the LA Firestorm, which is coming up on PBS at 10 o'clock tonight. We're going to get a last-minute look in at that and also maybe some perspective now that we're a few weeks out on the fires and what we've learned about them since.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Later with Mo Kelly on KFI AM 640.
This fire is different. I'm Weathered host Maiya May, and we're on the ground talking to survivors, first responders, and experts who are living through one of the worst fires in American history to see what happened and how the people of LA are fighting back and adapting to a hotter, drier, and more dangerous reality. Weathered, inside the LA firestorm.
KFI AM 640, it's Later with Mo Kelly. We're live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app. Premiering tonight at 10 p.m. on PBS, Weathered, Inside the L.A. Firestorm, examines the root cause of the L.A. wildfires and uncovers what communities can do to better prepare for future disasters. Hosted by storyteller and weather expert Maiya May, the special interviews of survivors, scientists, first responders, and public officials will hopefully help us understand the history and science behind the urban firestorms here in the U.S. Maiya May joins me now on the show. Maiya, thank you for coming on tonight. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing well, but I have a particular interest in this story that you're going to tell because I know that my reference point is skewed. I live in LA. I was covering these fires as it happened, but I also probably was too close to it to have adequate perspective. How did you approach this or view this as you began researching the fires?
I was like many people, most people not in LA, watching from afar and being horrified at what I was seeing. But luckily, and a lot of people don't realize this, the director of our show, he is a fire expert. And this special wasn't like, we didn't have we don't do these types of specials normally. But PBS knew that our show is directed by this, amazing journalist who's done a lot of work on wildfires. He's created a fire feature film as well. And they trusted us to tell this story. And he led a lot of what, we talk about in the show. Obviously he's director. But yeah, he led the charge here. But for me, just, as the communicator and the messenger for this story, it was very interesting. There's a lot of mixed emotions. I learned a lot. The main thing being that these types of disasters don't have to happen. And there are things, very small things, fairly inexpensive things that we can do to harden our homes. That's really the main thing that we can do to stop large-scale urban fires from happening on a large scale. Very easy things that we can do. And I'm excited for people to see the film and get this very useful information.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but there are probably two facets to this. Yes, there's things that we can do individually, as you mentioned, like to harden our homes. But we've also seen all sorts of extreme weather events in recent years. In fact, the Midwest and South are dealing with it right now. What are we seeing in a weather or climate sense that we've not seen in previous decades before?
In terms of this story and this particular weather event being the wildfires, it's temperature. And that plays a role in quite a few of the crazy natural disasters that we've experienced in recent years and recent months and weeks. I don't know about the line of storms that came through this weekend. That always happens. Severe weather, there's a lot more research that needs to be done to kind of attribute a rise in tornadoes, for example, to climate change. But we know that increased temperatures as it relates to the fire that happened in LA played a role. When you have a warmer atmosphere, it sucks more moisture out of the vegetation. Mm-hmm. And California, before 2024, experienced 2 really wet years. So you had these really wet years, and you had all this vegetation that resulted from those wet years being dried out. As we entered into the summer of 2024, I don't think you guys didn't get any rain for 8 months.
Yeah.
So on top of the fact there was no rain, you have increased temperatures, and we know temperatures are increasing on average. That also contributed to the drying out of these fuels, and that is what fed the fire. And again, once it reached urban communities, it was just it was like a runaway freight train. There was really nothing that could have been done. There's a lot of the weather aspect that played a role here, and that continues to play a role on large scale.
Let's talk more about that, and let's talk about these LA fires. Investigations are ongoing, and blame is going to be parsed, and I'm not going to put that on your shoulder. But in your conversations in Weathered inside the LA firestorm, what were some of your other observations, your analyses? What, if any, other conclusions have you arrived at?
Yeah, so I mean, everyone was talking about the lack of resources, right? There were a lot of people that were very angry, and that happens. I think that's human nature after a crazy disaster like this. You know, people naturally are going to want to point the finger. What happened here? Someone had to have dropped the ball. And I made a point to ask every single fire official that I spoke to, every climate scientist, would there have been enough resources to stop this fire once it reached urban communities? And the answer is no. There wouldn't have been enough firefighters. There wouldn't have been enough water. There wouldn't have been enough forest management that could have helped once it reached that first home in those conditions, because our communities weren't building in a way to be resilient to these climate-related disasters that we're seeing.
That's a question of infrastructure and planning, and maybe we would not have been able to change the end result. But is there a conversation to be had about what we could have done better or should have done better before it got to those urban communities? Because I think we all can agree, once it got to the urban communities, it was all over at that point and nothing could be done. But from what you've seen, you've experienced, your conversations, was there something that could have been done in this particular occasion, without calling out any particular names, that might have alleviated some of the subsequent disaster?
I don't believe in this situation. I mean, like I said, the conditions were just so primed. Imagine doing forest management for thousands and thousands and thousands of acres in this 8-month period leading up to the disaster. I know, we want to point to, some person, some human. Mother Nature is fierce, and we're seeing that. I think we're seeing just how relentless Mother Nature is in the face of our changing climate. Like I said, there's just so much built up vegetation from those 2 years, those extremely wet years that California experienced. And then once we got to that drought, I mean, there's just not much that could have been done. Once we had that red flag warning, I mean, people were predicting it. All you needed at that point was a spark. And people knew this was going to happen. So yes, like we definitely need to be thinking about more resources in that sense. Yes, we need more firefighters, more water, better management of land in that sense. But I think the biggest conversation that needs to come out of the special is adaptation and how we are building and where we're building. Mother Nature is going to Mother Nature either way. But how can we continue to build in a way that humanity can thrive on this planet? I think that needs to be the conversation.
Premiering later tonight, right after our show at 10 p.m. on PBS, Weathered Inside the LA Firestorm, hosted by journalist, weather expert, storyteller, and science communicator. You got a lot of titles, Maiya May. Got a lot of titles, but you've earned them all.
Science communicator. We'll go with science communicator. That's a good one.
Thank you for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
It's Later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640, live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.